Well, hello and welcome to the show. Today we're just going to look at some very basic things kind of after we've set up the house, the rest of the configuration of how I decided to implement this. Come on back. Well, all right. Now, hopefully we won't have too bad audio. We are in the upstairs studios with the irregular walls, and that back there helps. But when I turn my head away from the microphone, we sometimes get a little bit of bad audio. Anyway, I want to talk to you a little bit about how we connected to the house from the generator. It seems very simple. It's really not rocket science here, but here's a product I decided to use. This is a Harbor Freight product because it was about as cheap as I could get. Now it's cheaper. It was cheaper than buying the legit wire. And I do this through the years, and I have a number of times. I'll buy an extension cord because I can get it and its type of wire cheaper than I can get actual real wire and put the ends on it. I still end up putting the ends on it, maybe one end or the other, and maybe I can salvage it for something else. But anyway, this is, as it says, 50-foot 10-gauge indoor-outdoor, and is not a bad product. I don't think it's a bad product. Harbor Freight, about 80 bucks. Okay, now if you start calculating out what the real cord would be, it would be, depending on where you buy it, it may actually even be a little bit cheaper. But by doing this, what I was trying to do is salvage some. And when I had this in mind, I measured out. All right, see, this is the end of it. All right, now, to you color people, they don't match because this glows an orangey, UT orange, and this grows sort of a Miami green kind of right there when it goes up. But anyway, this is just a cheap end. You can put cheaper ones than this. This was just the other half of I had another extension cord that the cord end, the receptacle on the end of it, the cord connector had gone bad through the many years. And you know, why would you want to throw away a perfectly good extension cord that you've cut through with your hedge trimmer a couple of times and patch back, when you can just put a $3 part, $2 part from Amazon. So anyway, this is unfortunately all that I saved off of the 50 foot, because when I started it, I measured out, and it looked like, using a tape measure, that it was going to be 35 feet is what I needed. But then you never cut your cord ahead of time, and you can't lengthen it, and you don't want to waste it. So it's another reason why I decided to just get the cord. But this is what it looks like after I got done with it, right? Not a big deal. On this end, this is your 240 volt connector. It does look like it has 3 wires to it, but it's actually 4, because you see that little shiny part right there. That's the ground. And this twist lock, this is the 50 amp side. Now this is a 30 amp wire, 50 amp connector, because I want the house, as we did the panels, as you've watched those videos, they're made to take up to that 50 amps. And you can always put less on the 50 amps. You can put less on 50, but you can't put 50 on 30 type thing. And on the other end of it, the first generator was a twist lock, and I prefer twist lock to that TT30. And the difference here is this will lock in. You don't have to worry about accidentally pulling out. And I do like that part. Now, the downside to that is it does stick out, and you can get some right angle trailer, travel trailer connectors, 30 amp, that are straight blade that just fit in like a dryer or a range or oven, something like that. And they can be a little shorter if you're in like you put like a generator condom on your unit out there for when it runs. It keeps the stuff off of it. It makes it a little tighter, a little shorter. If you have a travel trailer and you don't have enough room in the space where you're going to store it, you know, you would not run it inside your trailer, but you could at least have it put in there. Now, this is the other thing we did. In the pictures I'll show you in a minute, before we show you actually running and me hooking this up, this is 3/4 inch on this side. This is a male. All right, and you always want your males going into your females. That's how nature works, right? Well, the female on the quick connector is usually the one that has a valve on it, like a air chuck line, you know, something like that, a sprayer or a grease line. A lot of things are like that. It's the female side that does the regulation that keeps things from flowing or not. The female controls the flow. The male is just there ready all the time. So that's just a pipe. Now, one of the generators I've been looking at on the budget side is built ass backwards. It actually has the female on the generator, which would trap the gas in it, which I guess is fine if you're going to have a low pressure. You can't put the little rubber knob back on top of it to keep, if you're going to run gasoline, because you don't want that to be an open port, so to speak, of way that fumes can back up in it. But anyway, this is just a 6-foot little Amazon cable right there, and we put the built up the end so it can work at 3/4 port. Because if I got 3/4, I can adjust it down to half. I can adjust it down to 3/8. What this is 3/8. So that allows us for a real quick connection, cord connection on this side, and you know, quick connect on the gas. So that means I don't have to now change bottles or worry about it running empty or whatever. Also, the one thing I want to point out here, how many wires do you see there? Only 3, right? Because on an RV generator, you're going to find that they're probably going to be floating neutral and only 120 volts. So there's only one phase there. And the panel of the house is going to be single phase, but there's actually 2 phases in single phase. 3-phase has 3 phases in it, A, B, and C. Single phase 220, 240 is only going to have a quote single pair. It's going to be, they're going to be opposite each other to get the other voltage, so that line 1 is 120 volts, line 2 is 120 volts, but because they're 180 degree out of phase, 120 makes 240. So they add together, but they're locked in that way. We still call that single phase. So in this case, I can't run anything to 40, which in my lower floor, the one I'm likely to run more often than I would drag a big generator out, is just going to only need 120. But it's going to need it on both circuits, both sides of the circuit, because you know some light circuits may be on A and some may be on B or whatever, and this way we just have the same line 1 going to line 2. You saw the panel if you've watched those earlier videos. So that's all we're doing there. I didn't bother to even turn off the dryer, because if I were to forget and try to turn on, it's not going to work, because it's only got 0 volts between line 1 and line 2. There's 0 volts because it's the same line. There may be a slight voltage difference because I'm losing maybe a little bit of voltage drop in a high current side. Now, how much does my house take? Well, when I show you, I've got another little video we're going to slip in here. I did a house study first. Let me find out, what do I really need to keep that bottom floor going in most cases? Well, I know I can calculate the microwave and the coffee makers. The stove is gas, so I don't really need much there. I can light it with a lighter. So really, dryer, if I can go through a day or two, maybe storm falls, without drying clothes, I can probably live with that. So this is most likely what I need. And if I were to be in a serious storm outage with ice storm or something, it's not going to help me with heat, but I do have a fireplace and I do have some portable gas units with carbon monoxide detectors on each floor and all that. And I wouldn't recommend that for anyone, but you know, what would it take to run a house? Well, that's what I'm going to show you. So I'm going to show you a little quick video after this of the little RV setup I created outside, and then we're going to show you the house study, and then I'll show you the actual flipping it on, because when I put it on, it'll make sense to you, because you hear some people say, well, don't have everything cut off and then transfer it on. Well, I happen to know that there's not going to be that much on it anyway. Worst thing that could happen is I might have a compressor, but if I just lost power, it's not going to restart immediately anyway. So there's not going to be much load except for, you know, lights. So all right, let's roll those and then we'll come back and wrap up. Hey, appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, if you will, subscribe to the channel, either the YouTube or the Rumble channel, which this appears in. And if you can, check the notification bell or settings to make sure that you get notified when new videos are posted. Appreciate it. Well, and as far as the outside part, here is my little pad. And of course I didn't reinvent the wheel. That's nothing but a 4 square foot paver, or 2x2. And you can see there's little bricks under there, and there's a bag of sand for leveling and the bricks that were left over and that little pad. So that just gives me my flat, stable, level place to put the genset. And here is the reworked gas line. I did tear this out and redo this from this side of it, increase it from the half that it was to 3/4 so that I could put a 3/4 quick connect there. Now the green regulator, of course, will put out more BTUs in the system that would need with either a generator or the heat, everything I have in the house. So it does that. It's really the limitation that you fall into on the house side of that low pressure. So it just works out where I can have a short 6-foot line, a gas line, to the genset, and we take from the genset here to inside the garage, and I'll show you a video in a bit. So this is not really rocket science here at all. And yes, I know I need landscaping. It's the landscaper's decade off as well. This I need to respray down again, and this time not mess around and get me some gravel and things put up in here to make that kind of a permanent little space, because I want to take some on this side too, in case there's any spark, you know, kicking out through the spark arrestor doesn't work. I don't want it like set the grass on fire if there's a backfire. But anyway, that's just how that works. Well, I find this interesting. I'm just looking to do a study on home usage of power. My electric bill has jumped up to almost $200. Now, this is the downstairs panel, obviously, and there's not much on it. Lights and TV and whatnot. And I do have a freezer that's running right now, and it looks like it's running off of that leg because I am pulling almost 2 amps on the high side. Now if I pull it over to the other leg, pull it on the other leg, I'm pulling 2.5 amps. So that's quite a bit of wattage for the downstairs. Of course, I'm not running a dryer, and the HVAC units, they're both outside. They pull off a different panel. The upstairs is on a different panel. I've got a split unit up there, but on this panel we're pulling next to nothing, and that should help me figure out what to do about my generator inlet I've put in down here, because I'm going to run a battery backup system for the garage, which is actually run the whole bottom of the house. I run the gas water heater over there. It'll peak up above that, but that should give me an idea of about how much battery to get a couple hours so I don't have to drag a generator out. And without going into too much detail, I did turn the dryer on, which is the only 240 volt line I have down here on the first floor. And we are pulling combined household with everything turned on. Well, not everything turned on, but typical, pretty typical stuff. We're pulling less than 30 amps at 240 volts. Alright, here's our power failure. Now, I haven't turned anything off here. We'll find out if it works. Again, this is not on. We're not doing close. Here's our feed. We're plugged in. We're going to just throw it on. And with nothing, no more load than I had, as I've already explained it, it should work. There we go. Did you hear it? Lights came on. Now we're at 2 hours and 2 minutes. We got a green light here, so we're not overloaded. Red light's not on, we got oil, right? And we did speed up because we actually have a load on it. But when you
if we can run the bottom floor for a couple hours on eco mode. Because if I kick on, I'm going to go make a cup of coffee, see if we stall out. We're going to do that, and we're going to find out if that's, because it's not our, we can't take it to a 50% low without putting some more heaters or something on, which we can do. We may do it, but I'm just going to run a normal thing, put the TV back on, watch TV for maybe an hour, make a cup of coffee, see how living works, maybe put something in the microwave, just see if we can run it.
Well, I hope that was not too rambly for you. And I know it's, you know, I talk, and I don't mean to talk down to anyone, but a lot of people just, they don't know. And, you know, if somebody tells them once in one video, heckers, they got it. And they may even straighten up some of these YouTubers that would call like the twist lock antiquated. It's not antiquated. It's actually more popular and more widespread than the travel trailers. It just has its pluses and negatives, you know. It's not going to pull out, but it's going to actually project. I don't know of any right angle twist locks. So the travel trailer works if that's what you got on your equipment. I've got an adapter that's due in any minute. It's supposed to be delivered today because I'm not changing my cord for this second generator.